A player claimed he spent 1,200 hours in Subnautica and never encountered this, which made me ask a question. What actually is the rarest thing in Subnautica? The Reaper Leviathan is probably the most feared creature in the game. It feels rare because it's dangerous, but there are over 20 of them across the map. And we can work our way up to the rarer Leviathans like the Sea Dragon, who have only 3 in the entire game. But once you know their patrol zones, they're predictable. And if you don't, it's almost a 100% chance you will encounter a dragon in your playthrough. Then there's the Sea Crown, widely regarded as the hardest to find plant in the game. That sounds rare, but it's actually a guaranteed item. You will not finish the game without finding this plant. Guaranteed isn't rare, it's just hidden. The Sea Emperor feels rare because there is only one of them in the entire game. Finite, limited, and hidden. That's real rarity. But even then, every single player who finishes the game will have encountered the Sea Emperor. Time capsules feel rare because they're few and far between. But up to 40 can spawn in every single save, and they have fixed locations, so you're extremely likely to counter at least one. So none of these are truly rare. So maybe rarity isn't about being difficult to find. Maybe it's about limitation. There are only 5 cuttlefish eggs per world. That's finite and absolutely missable. But they're ever present within the game. And more importantly, they're deliberately placed. The game wants you to find them. It's just a matter of time. Some objects only exist once per world. The Sea Emperor Leviathan, the primary containment facility, the quarantine enforcement platform. But these aren't rare. They're mandatory. If something is required to finish the game, it can't be the rarest. So I stopped looking at what is placed, and I started looking at what is rolled. Subnautica has internal probability tables. Certain events don't always trigger. Certain outcomes are chance-based. For example, warp-teleport frequency, stalker-metal interactions, reefback barnacle spawn density, and that's where things get interesting. There's a difference between something that exists in small numbers and something that almost never happens. One is rare because the developer limited it. The other is rare because probability says so. And probability doesn't care if you want to see it. So I asked a different question. What is the least likely thing to happen in a normal playthrough? Not something you can hunt. Not something locked behind a biome. Something that could happen at any time, but almost never does. One of the most misunderstood mechanics in Subnautica involves stalkers and metal salvage. When a stalker grabs a piece of scrap metal, there's a small chance it drops a tooth. Not every type of metal salvage produces one, so it's heavily tied to probability. You can't force it. You can only encourage the odds. That makes every single stalker tooth drop rarer than most creatures in the game. And yet, if you wait long enough, it happens. Warpers don't always behave the same way. Their aggression changes as your infection progresses. The deeper you go and the more Kara advances, the more hostile they become. Certain abilities, like forcing you out of your vehicle, only trigger under certain conditions. That means some Warper encounters feel rare, but they aren't random, they're conditional. Their most aggressive behaviors require you to progress the infection and put yourself in danger, which means you can influence them. You can trigger them, you can provoke them, and you can increase the odds. This isn't true rarity. This is conditional behavior. Even something as simple as barnacle clusters on the reefbacks aren't identical. Their spawn density varies across individuals. Some reefbacks will carry more resources than others. But this is environmental variance, not true mechanical rarity. And with infinite reefback spawns, there is an infinite amount of possibilities to encounter each variant. Every example so far shares one thing in common. They require you to go somewhere. They require intent. But what if Subnautica's rarest thing doesn't require you to do anything special at all? What if it can happen during the most ordinary moment in the game? I kept looking at creatures and items and spawn rates, but I was looking in the wrong place. The rarest thing in Subnautica isn't something you see. Subnautica is a game built on repetition. You leave base, you enter vehicle, you gather resource, you return to base, you repeat. Over a full playthrough, you repeat some actions hundreds of times, and repetition is where probability hides. Occasionally, when you board a vehicle, the game plays a line.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Most of these lines are common, but not all of them. Some lines are weighted differently. Some trigger frequently, others almost never. And because boarding a vehicle feels ordinary, sometimes you don't notice what you don't hear. In over 300 hours of gameplay, I've entered the Cyclops hundreds of times, and I've heard the same greeting over and over.
Welcome aboard, Captain. All systems online.
Until I started researching something strange. I bet you didn't know this voice line existed.
Welcome aboard, Captain. Some systems need attention.
This plays when you enter a breached Cyclops, but there is one, even rarer, voice line. Across forums, players with hundreds, even thousands of hours report hearing the same thing. Some weren't sure the line even existed. That's different from rare. That's statistically elusive. So what is the rarest thing in Subnautica? When boarding the Cyclops, this voice line has an incredibly small chance to activate.
You are the better captain on the planet. I'm not even squid.
Unlike a cuttlefish egg, you can't search for it. Unlike a void leviathan, you can't guarantee to trigger it. Unlike stalker teeth, you can't actively increase the odds. It happens or it doesn't. Players with hundreds, even thousands of hours have never heard this. In 300 hours, I never did. That means across hundreds of Cyclops boarding, the probability never rolled in mine or their favor. Even after dozens of attempts, nothing. The rarest thing in Subnautica isn't something you discover. It's something the game decides to give you. And most players will never know they missed it. The rarest thing in Subnautica was never hidden in the deep. It was right in front of our noses the whole time.